Okay. Thanks, Toby. I actually should have asked for everyone's permission, but do I have everyone's permission to record?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. So today, can we Toby, do you mind mute, like, pressing the mute, please? To mute everybody, if you don't mind. Okay, thank you. So today's agenda, we have, of course, as we usually start, an approval of the agenda and the minutes, old business, finance committee updates, academic committee updates, which focuses on coaching and the instructional model today, governance committee updates and announcements and closing. So Matt, have the agenda up. Is it up again? I'm sorry, my screen here is, okay, this is from
Yeah, I
last.
can see it.
Okay,
Wasn't
perfect.
it? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So can we approve the agenda and the minutes? May I have a motion to approve the agenda and the minutes, please?
Sure. This is Susan. I move to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting and the minutes from, is it the last meeting?
Yes, the last meeting.
The last meeting.
Yes, please. Thank you.
I seconded. This
Thanks.
is Carrie.
Awesome. Thanks, Carrie. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Does anyone oppose? Okay, the minutes and the agenda for today have been approved. Thank you so much. Toby, can we go to the old business, please? The action items from the last meeting. Okay, so we have the coaches accountability report that will come during the academic committee report, but on the enrollment task force, Stephanie, do you have any updates for us on that, please?
Good evening. Yes, I do. We have compiled the historical data. EdOps provided us with that data. We've compiled our survey questions. We have our platform for reaching out to our parents and connecting that as part of also a marketing or rebranding strategy that is scheduled to go out on by next Friday via constant contact, as well as our Answer Connect services, getting around the questions of why the decline in enrollment. So that is all been geared up and will be launched on next week.
Thank you so much. Now, for Principal Phalen, Principal Stone, is there anything here you would like to touch on, or should we just wait till it's time to present the report on the coaching model?
If we can wait. Oh, go ahead.
No. I was going to ask if you could repeat the question.
Oh yeah, there are some questions here under the action items. I just presumed that those questions will be addressed when you're presenting later on. I just want to make sure I'm not, I'm making the right assumption.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, Toby, can we scroll down, please? Let me scroll up, please.
Rebecca, can we ask if we know the current enrollment numbers? Or
I'm
the enrollment
assuming
numbers?
that will come during the finance committee updates. But sure, let's ask.
Stephanie, do we?
Okay, so right off the top of my head, I think we're at 199 at Lamont and 354 at Tollson. And if I could also defer, when we do our presentation, my presentation, I will confirm that because there is a presentation in the slide around enrollment as well.
Perfect, thank you.
Instructional practices for classroom teachers. Updates from Travis, please.
I cannot hear.
Travis, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Yes, so instructional practices, the Rise Up team met in February to take a look at instructional timing and planning, and we were able to make some true gains, because we sort of piggyback off of what the AEC recommended. We saw the same trends. And so without going into a ton of detail, because the coach's presentation will pretty much cover what I would talk about right now, but we're looking at how to make sure that teacher planning is connected to instruction, and then triangulating it with the data outcomes. So February was all about planning, and supporting teachers with, as really designing the right questions that increase the rigor of in-class learning, and also becoming more efficient with the use of time during both the intervention block, the SST time, and the whole group instruction. So you're going to see that more during the school's presentation.
Okay, thank you. SPED.
You're on mute, Miss Allen.
Yes, Rebecca, I'm here.
Yeah. Do you have any updates for us?
Just the updates from last time. The last time I already went over all of the action items, but I did bring a couple of the updates from that as well.
Okay, so
Like
are
me
there
to
any
share?
updates? Yes, please.
Okay, can you guys see the screen? Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so good evening, everyone. I'm the Director of Special Education for both Lamond and Tollson. Was it not moving? And of the updates from last time we met in January, it was expected that the children of the 6 children that were to receive packets would receive packets. I actually went over to Lamar, prepared those packets, and took them to the post office on 2/17. So those requests were complete. Each student received at least 2 packets, one on their ability level and one a packet above their ability level in the subjects of math, reading, social studies, and science. And of the ASQ students, the 2 to 3 that were considered critical, one has been formally assessed with a bilingual assessment because he was an ELL student and that child was found ineligible. And the issue was that the child was new to the US and actually had not had as much time needed to actually access and be functional with English speaking, reading, writing, math, and listening. The SPED students, it was 2 of those students who were on that list as well. One has been reevaluated. His disability classification did change, and he is now in a program specifically for children of his classification. And then there's one pending evaluation at this time. As far as compliance is concerned, we are compliant in every area at this time. There is eligibility is 89% because we still have 11% eligibilities to complete. The IEPs are 88% compliant because we have 13% to complete. There are no IEPs that are non-compliant at this time, no 504s that are non-compliant, or any EL plans that are non-compliant. And then the only new news is that we did, as we spoke of last time, add in addition to our Hope Community Family, a partnership with a service called MBI Health Services that will attend to the whole child and the family. And they help with attendance assistance, behavioral health intervention, as well as any direct or independent wraparound services for parents. And then just for next steps, we'll bring an update as to the different programming that MBI is supporting the school. That is my responsibility for the March meeting. Report out on WIDA access and the preparation and the ongoing monitoring for that. That is my responsibility as well for the March meeting. And then just continuous monitoring statuses of those early learners that are age 3 to 5 that are considered a part of child count, and making sure that we reach those babies as they are young, and to get them on a firm foundation for learning. And that's it for me.
Okay, thank you. So I'm assuming the reporting will include the feedback that the students who got the packets will be getting.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, do we have any quick updates from facilities before we move into the finance committee updates?
Yes, I'll just do a quick run through of my slides and keep it to about 5 minutes here for everybody, and then can
Very
take
much.
some questions too. Okay,
Absolutely.
I'll share my screen. Good evening, everyone. My name is Dave Miller, and I'm the Regional Facilities Director for Imagine Schools Mid-Atlantic Region. And we're very busy right now with the facilities teams in both buildings preparing for building reopening. So we are preparing final touches and working on a number of items here in terms of repairs and maintenance, just to have our buildings really shining and looking great and inviting for the eventual return of our scholars and our staff. We are completing final touch-up painting, just kind of almost a touch-up to the touch-up, but yeah, just kind of finishing up those final items of painting in the classrooms and hallways. We've had roof repairs completed at both the Lamont and Tollson buildings, and that seems to be holding up pretty well, even through the weather we've had the past few weeks. We replaced damaged floor tiles in the Tollson building, or about anywhere from 20 to 30 tiles that just need replaced, scattered throughout the building. We also replaced 5 classroom windows at Tollson that had just kind of minor cracks in them, but still enough that we wanted to get those replaced. We are in the process of repairing a rooftop unit with the heating and cooling system at the Tollson building. I know we had sent that out to the board at the end of last week, and just got approval for that repair because it's around $14,700. So a pretty significant repair, replacement of the heat exchanger unit. But that will, get that unit back up and running for us, and heating the building in the media center area and the lobby area, the Tollson building. And we're also just doing our deep cleaning and floor burnishing and classroom setup preparation for the scholars' return and teachers' return. These are some photos of our classrooms as we have them set up right now. Are doing final setup of the socially distanced classrooms. So we're working with the school leaders just to make sure that we've got each classroom set up correctly in the way that they want it, and that the teachers will want it when they come back in. We are installing additional signage too. So just kind of as much signage as we can get, promoting social distancing, mandatory mask wearing, hand washing encouragement, and then noting that drinking fountains are out of service. And then also installing way markers and directional signage and floor tape for promoting social distancing. So we're really kind of in the point now where we're doing our final setup and final touches. For the HVAC and environmental issues, we do have the air purifier units installed in all the classrooms and offices now. We will be doing air quality testing, and also some just audits and recertifications of the adjustments that we've made to the HVAC systems in the Lamont and Tollson buildings. Our facilities manager, Mr. Turner, is checking daily for just the ceiling tiles to make sure that we don't have any mold or mildew issues as well, just to ensure good air quality. And then we are here in the next week or so are going to have the installation of the hand sanitizing stations at the entrances to each classroom. We're also obtaining bottled water service with water bottle fillers in lieu of having the water fountains, which are turned off just for physical distance safety. And then our lavatories, again, these are some illustrations of just how we've shut off some of the stalls and the partitions for our lavatories. And we're also going to have the air purifiers set up in our lavatories as well. And we're installing the touchless hand soap and paper towel dispensers as well. And then again, the isolation rooms, we do have them set up in both buildings now, Lamont and Tollson. Also using those ionizing air purifiers in those rooms. And in Lamont, I've got a couple of pictures here of the rooms set up right now. They're a little stark, but it's really The requirement is just that we have a table, I mean, a desk and a chair for a scholar or a staff person just to wait to be picked up. And we have these, the air purifiers, and then also in the Lamont building, we do have the operable windows that can increase the airflow if a potentially infected scholar is in that space. And then our enhanced cleaning and disinfecting, we are gearing up with the facilities teams in both schools, you know, having them into the habit, getting them into the habit of doing cleaning checklists to ensure routine inspection and cleaning and disinfecting of lavatories and classrooms. We had a meeting today with both, with the school leaders at both schools, just to kind of get into more details on that, and talked about the schedules for use of the lavatories and actually kind of stationing different members of the facilities teams kind of outside the lavatory so they can quickly go in and do a quick sanitizing using the electrostatic misters after each use by a group of students. We'll also have a schedule of sanitizing all the classrooms and lavatories and office spaces too at the end of the school day using the electrostatic misters. So these will go through and really spray each room down very quickly with that fine, dry mist of the hypochlorous disinfectant that will help kill any potential germs that we might have, a virus in the building. And then on Wednesdays, our plan is to do deep cleaning and disinfecting of the entire building when we don't have scholars in the building in the hybrid model. And then the Tollson site improvements, we've had a little more work done on that. If you've been by the Tollson building, you've probably seen that we've got that additional netting above the top of the fence, and the padding is in on the fencing. It looks really great. Got to thank Mr. Connect for really helping lead and inspire this project. It was really a lot of his vision that's getting us to a point where we're going to have a really great sports complex there for basketball, volleyball, soccer. It's going to be really nice to have when the school building is back open and we can get back into sports and physical education. And once the weather breaks here and we are starting to see more mild temperatures, we will do the final, the acrylic sports court surfacing and putting down the athletic lines and kind of completing the final touches and installation of the basketball goals, et cetera. So getting close to having that project completed. Any questions on facilities issues?
No, it sounds great. I don't have anything. I think it sounds really good, Dave. Really appreciate your ongoing leadership and attention to detail.
Thanks. We're in the final push now, is what I keep telling my crews. We're kind of in the fourth quarter, you know,
Yeah.
at least towards reopening. So
Excellent.
yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. So now we're on to the Finance Committee updates. And we're doing good with time. It's 7:06 p.m. So
Stephanie, you're good on this, right?
Yep, and I will make this as quick as I can, just if anybody can just give me a confirmation that you can see my screen and I can
We
get
can see it.
started. Thank you very much. The Finance Committee met on Tuesday, so we've gone over the kind of the details of this. I've tried to really high level this. I'll go through it very quickly, but thoroughly, and if there's any questions, I can entertain those as well. We're going to first address compliance matters. Compliance is being outlined tonight in 4 particular areas: immunizations, truancy, procurement, and the financial audit. In terms of the compliance around immunizations, we've mentioned this quite some time now. We still are not seeing any changes in our immunization compliance at either Lamont or Tollson. Currently, Tollson is at 70%, is at a 71% compliance rate. Lamont is at a 60% compliance rate. Basically meaning that we have 106 scholars that are still outstanding in either their immunization or providing us with an update or documentation of that, and 62 scholars at Lamont. And I continue to mention this because as we begin to move closer to our reentry, those students who are not immunized don't qualify for in-person instruction until there's some documentation of verification of that being accomplished. When you look at both Tollson and Lamont, just again, we've seen this slide in a prior, and it continues to be the same, that most of those immunizations that are outstanding occur in our pre-K 3 and 4 and 7th and 8th graders at Tollson. and that Lamont is primarily in pre-K3 and pre-K4 are where we're seeing the larger numbers of non-compliances around immunization. In terms of truancy, and this is not unique to just us. I am in different calls throughout the city and understanding that, because of the virtual situation with instruction and various things that are happening, that rates are, increasing across. But at Hope Community, we have been flagged. Our truancy rate right now is 48.06%. It is recommended that we are at 30% or below, and that is kids that are absent 10 days or more. As you can see, Tollson has the higher or is driving that rate at 55.66%, where Lamont is at 31.51%. At this time, we have been asked to provide a letter, which must be signed off by our board chair. And I provided that summary, and it's primarily driven for Tollson since they have the larger rate in which we need to respond to a number of issues and how we will mitigate or see an improvement in attendance and truancy. We are tracking this in several different ways, and our board chair has been provided with various details of this particular area of noncompliance by homeroom, by grade. But tonight I'm just illustrating what this looks like by grade. And as I indicated before, the truancy rates are being driven primarily by Tollson, and this graph here just illustrates which grades are having the highest level of truancy. Again, we have been asked to pretty much address the truancy rates and how we're going to reply or address that. We need to provide specific challenges that we believe have led to the truancy rates, what interventions the LEA has put in place to improve attendance, both in person, remotely, and hybrid, and what strategies the LEA would use to reestablish routines once we are fully back into the building. Ms. Stone has provided a very detailed response to these questions with the help of what they have in place at Tollson as the enrollment team. And again, that those responses are with our board chair for review, and we need to get those in tomorrow before close of business. Another area of compliance that we're addressing right now has to do with procurement. We are required to upload any contracts that exceed $25,000 in value within 3 business days. And there are a lot of different criteria, but as a result of the audit for the period ending 6/30/2019, we were required to identify those vendors that met that $25,000 threshold. And what that did was also spark an area of non-compliance in where we had not uploaded contracts during the 2019-2020 period. So we are having an opportunity to clean that up. DCPSB will not be issuing an early warning notice for this period because they're giving us an opportunity to clean that up, and we have completed that. We're now focusing on the 2020 period, which is the active school year that we're in, making sure that all of our contracts are in and we're compliant around that. As the Director of Operations, I will assume oversight in this area. We'll be working collaboratively with the team. We've reviewed the procurement contract submission policy. We've reviewed videos, and I will continue to provide oversight, and we'll continue to make sure that we are compliant in this particular area. Also, as a result of the audit findings, if you recall, we had 2 findings dealing with the material weaknesses over the financial reporting and also a significant deficiency on procurement. And as a response to that, OSSI has reviewed our single audit for the year, and they're asking us to provide proof of the management responses to those findings by March 17th. So I will also be working on getting those responses over to them as well. In terms of enrollment, the question was asked, what are our numbers right now? We've been funded, or as a part of our enrollment audit, we resulted in a number of 559. We are currently at 196 at Lamont and 355 at Tollson. So that's in response to the question that was asked earlier. In terms of enrollment, we are in our
Sorry,
open enrollment.
so what was the total compared to the budgeted total so far?
So the budgeted was we were budgeting for 703.
703. Okay. And then the total right now is 196 plus 355.
Which is
whatever
551.
Thank you.
But our audit, what we're being funded for, is at 559.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
So we are in open enrollment for the 21-22 school year. We have been very clear on the message of the new year and the new hope, and what the board and the school sees as this vision. So as we are engaging our families, we are still encouraging re-enrollment. E-forms is live in Power Schools. So in order to help track or to keep an eye on where we are for our re-enrollment, we have created a enrollment dashboard in which we will continue to get updates weekly on the submittal of re-enrollments, or the first step for the parents is to provide us with the intent to re-enroll. So this tracker will basically track those parents or families who have an intent to re-enroll, and this will be updated on a weekly basis. So right now, with the e-forms just opening up, as you can see right now, we haven't gotten a tremendous amount of movement. However, we will continue to, send messages continuously to our parents about re-enrollment. And as the board continues, I'm sure, to share, their vision, and as they did in this meeting that just occurred earlier, we shall see these re-enrollments continue to increase. Around the why, we talked briefly on the task force re-enrollment. This was already baked into my slide around the why. We have pulled the historical data from Power Schools. We drafted our survey questions. The survey is supposed to go live on the 5th. We are also going to be doing a combination of email surveys and phone calls, because we have a variation of contact information for our parents. And then by the 19th, we plan on compiling that data, following up with parents. And then unfortunately, I think the timing of our March board meeting won't allow us to report out. So we'll be reporting out on this for our April board meeting. In terms of the survey, we want to make it quick, and we want to make it, we want to make it brief, because we want it to be impactful. So we plan on just asking a couple of questions, and those questions will be in 5 areas. What influenced your decision to enroll at Hope Community? Why did you leave? And where did you enroll your child after leaving Hope Community? And how likely are you to recommend Hope Community to a family or friend? And then an open-ended question if there's anything else that you would like to share with us about your experience. Before I go on to the financial side of things, are there any questions around the compliance or enrollment?
I'm wondering if it would be helpful to share the recording of today's meeting with families in your next communication, so that could help, inform those who weren't able to attend, and also help the boost in enrollment.
Okay.
Thanks, Dana. And speaking of that, Dana did mention something about my school DC. If we could also send out a message to the parents that, the upcoming change would not impact my school DC. They can still use my school DC. It's transferable under what we currently have, the systems we currently have.
Stephanie, this is Susan. We don't have to get into it now in detail, but I would like to understand the evidence that you're going to be providing to demonstrate that we've addressed the weaknesses in the audit, unless you can cover that quickly right now.
Yeah. So they're asking for showing slide decks, trainings that we've attended,
Okay.
Copies of our SOPs to address. So everything that we've replied to in the management response, they just want to see how that's being formally documented.
I see. Okay.
Yes.
I understand now. Great. Thanks.
Okay. And I can share the
Yeah.
email with you as well, so
That'd
you
be
can see
good.
the details of what they're asking.
Thanks.
Okay.
And if you don't-
Anything else before I move on to the financial side?
Yes, just one more question, please. Has there been any decline since last month, since our last meeting in enrollment?
I think we've
Has there
had,
been a withdrawal?
yes, I think we've had one additional student withdraw from Lamont, which has put us at 196. I think we were at 197 last month. And then one additional at Tollson as well, which has put us at 355. I think we were at 356 last month.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, moving on to the financial side. For the period ending January 31st, 2021, at this point, we're looking at 95 days of cash on hand at year's end. As much as we talk about the change in cash flow because of the change in our budget and what we're forecasting, and Susan asked the question about the 703 number versus the 559 number, we are still trending and having more cash on hand than which we originally forecast because of some of the discretionary cuts that we made within the budget. So instead of being almost $1 million below budget in terms of cash flow, we're now trending at about 733,000 below in terms of cash flow. So right now we're anticipating to have 95 days of cash again on hand by the end of the year. For this particular month, we did again see some increases in our cash expectations. Those key drivers in savings were around benefits and taxes, specifically around our workers' comp. We saw about $63,000 in savings around benefits and taxes. We also saw some additional savings because of the vacancies in staff. And we are, however, seeing a decrease in our office and business expenses, primarily around our hotspots. We do still have a number, if you can recall, last year when we went into virtual learning, we secured 50 hotspots from a grant that we received, and we continue to manage those hotspots because we do have a number of families who still need internet. So those 50 hotspots are in the hands of our families, and we are running about $2,000 a month to maintain those hotspots for our families to be able to connect with us in a virtual learning environment. When you look at our financials in a snapshot, I just want to hone in to where we are year to date. At January 31st, we have recognized total revenue of about 7.9 million rounded. We have incurred total expenses of about $8.3 million rounded, for total net loss of $423,000. When you look at our cash flow adjustments, and then you also make that adjustment to our net loss, we've had a change in cash of about $2.2 million. When we look at our forecast overview, again, we were budgeting at $16 million based on enrollment. We're forecasting revenue of about 13 million. We're forecasting expenses of 15 million. We are now looking at a net loss for this current school year of 1.9 million. After we make our additional cash flow adjustments, we'll be looking at a change in cash of about 2.1 million. So as it relates to our budget, in terms of the change in cash flow, we're looking at $784,000 more of cash being used than what we actually budgeted for based on our 703 student enrollment. So I know that was quick and it was brief, but are there any questions? And Susan, did I highlight that one? Any questions? Susan?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Anyone else? No other questions? This concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Stephanie. So now we'll have the academic committee updates with a focus on instruction and coaching.
Okay, I will share my screen.
Are the coaches here, or is at least one coach here today?
I am, Ms. Pella, do you see our coaches in the participants? I've shared my screen, so it makes
I
it a little
don't.
more
Yes, we're
difficult.
here. Okay, yeah, I can't see everybody.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, good evening, everyone. We will now have our school report or school leaders report. My name is Ashley Stone. I am the school leader at Hope Tollson, and I have with me.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Miss Pella, and I'm the school leader at Lamond.
And we have on the line our two regional coaches, correct? Ms. Tiffany Arnold and Ms. Keisha McCoy.
Yes.
I'm present. We're
Thank you. Okay, so we are going to focus on this evening the area of teaching and learning. More specifically, what does our coaching look like at the two campuses?
Okay, on this slide, what you have here is kind of like a hierarchy, which explains how our coaches are, how our coaching system is basically set up. We have our Imagine-based regional academic director, Nishandra Ellis Hicks, our school leaders, of course, both Ashley and myself. And then at each campus, at my campus, at the Lamont campus, we have a regional coach, Tiffany Arnold, and we have a school-based part-time coach whom supports with professional development for our pre-K team, and also serves as a first grade teacher, Mr. Dewan Wildgoose.
Okay. I do believe we have additionally on the line 2 of our school-based coaches as well. So just to add that. Okay, so for our coaching support and our school leader collaboration, at Tollson, this looks like you'll see on both the left and the right for Tollson and Lamont, we have divided that up into our instructional leadership teams and have outlined what that looks like as a means of support and collaboration. We also have outlined here what professional development collaboration looks like at our 2 campuses. So for Tollson, we do have an instructional leadership team, which is made up of our coaches only. We have one instructional leadership team without, or that includes our coaches, but other members of our team leads and school-based management staff. But we have each week on Wednesdays a coaches only ILT where we're meeting and we are checking in regularly on what progress with teachers looks like. We utilize a rolling agenda to monitor this progress. I find that rolling agendas are essential to our work because it helps us to stay data-wise. We monitor each time. Here are our next steps from the previous meeting. Here are our next steps for this meeting. And we keep that same flow and format each meeting. It is also a space where we're building capacity. We do have various levels of leadership and experience or coaching experience within our leadership team or instructional leadership team. So it's important for us to have a space where they can collaborate and speak to one another about what coaching looks like from their experience, as well as listen to the school leaders about what their vision is for the school. I do utilize a critical friends approach or critical friends protocol when it comes to sharing about teachers, where each coach, they share out what it is that they're working on with their caseload of teachers. We also share out best practices that may be working, but it is really a space where the coaches can ask and probe questions of the other coach who is presenting, but then also present solutions that are working or that may work for that coachee. Another form of school leader collaboration with the coach is around our action reports. So those are submitted weekly by our coaches to reflect on the progress being made for the week. And then the school leader provides feedback on those action reports.
Good evening, everyone. So for coaching at both campuses, obviously there are a lot of similarities. Also at Lamont, our regional-based coach, we do have weekly check-ins. Our coach provides us on weekly progress or updates on our teachers and skills that they're actually working on with them. She also shares the status of improvement for each teachers. And one of the ways that we communicate when there's a need is through a weekly collaborative task form, which I will share later on in the presentation. And then one of the main areas for Lamont is just balancing professional development and so the balance between our campus needs as well as our school initiatives, our regional-based initiatives, or the initiatives, the Imagine-based initiatives, for example, our use of Renaissance, as well as Dr. Sola and some of the professional development that we have received for virtual learning. We're also spending a lot of our energy in terms of balancing the needs of our teachers and working with our coach to balance the regional initiatives that they are supporting on our campuses.
Okay, so for teacher preparation through coaching, we have on this slide outlined what coaching support looks like at both of our campuses. For Tollson, we started with a needs assessment that was conducted at the beginning of the year. This looked different from our school-based coaches and our regional coach. Our regional coach, that may have looked like an email, as well as for our school-based coaches, it looked like a survey that was sent out. But both coaching teams, they collaborated around, one, getting that information out to teachers and being sent to every teacher so they can either opt in for supports, as well as we conducted an instructional walkthrough at the very beginning where we identified some potential needs for our building. It was important for us to create that survey so that it doesn't feel like coaching is always for when you're doing something wrong, because it isn't. Everyone needs a coach. I have a coach as a school leader, and it's important to send that message that coaching is for everyone, growth is for everyone. And so when you do hear from your instructional coach, it can be one, either by choice because you are seeing a need for yourself and you just are curious, or it may be that we've identified and seen some areas of growth as we are moving in and out of classrooms. At both campuses, we do utilize one-on-one coaching, which looks like one-on-one planning. For Tollson, we call those lesson planning clinics, which are done weekly. We have them both optional, where there are some teachers who opt into this form of coaching, and then it can also be based on a tier of need. We do have assigned for each coach between 2 to 3 teachers that are receiving the lesson planning clinics weekly. For the one-on-one targeted coaching, this is where you are moving through a full coaching cycle that involves a pre-conference or a pre-observation, observation, and a post-observation with feedback. And now our coaches have gotten very creative with how that can look. Sometimes they have an asynchronous observation where it's either a video submitted and the video is analyzed with the coach, or they sit down with the coachee to look at the video together, and they are pinning, not pinning, McCoy, you may have the term for it, but they are pinpointing the spots within the actual lesson where they're either the questioning's going well, or there's an area of growth for questioning. So that's done during that targeted coaching approach. It's based on the teacher's tiers of need. They use a term titled heavy versus light coaching. So there are some teachers that are receiving heavy coaching cycles where they see the coach more than once a week. And then a light coaching cycle where it looks more like a check-in around a particular goal. And for our campus, there are 4 to 5 teachers per coach that are receiving this targeted coaching. And then for team coaching, we do that through our professional learning teams or our PLTs, which are done weekly. And you'll see more about that in slide 6. I do want to take a moment, Ms. McCoy, that term I was looking for with the with the videos, when you all are doing the videos, could you share that with the board, please?
You're talking about tagging videos.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. So when tagging video, they're tagging the different areas of what they're identifying and looking for. Now hand it over to Ms. Pella.
Okay, there are a lot of similarities again between Tollson and Lamond. For Lamond, there are 5 teachers that are receiving intensive coaching support. Some of those teachers are based on just following where we left off from the summer of 2019, 2020, just continuing that support process from our coaching from last year. But we do have some teachers that express a need or express a desire to push their instruction further. And there are some teachers that fall into that category as well. Also at Lamond, we do have one-on-one coaching sessions. Again, like I said, for those teachers who have been determined that they're in need based on my observations, as well as data from last year, as well as observations from our coach. We do have one-on-one coaching based on formal and informal observations. And then based on that, there's a determination of the coaching cycle, which is about 6 weeks, in which the coach provides, again, one-on-one support, also checks in with me to provide me information on how that particular teacher is doing. And then between myself and the coach at Lamond, as well as Vice Principal Michelle Robinzine, we do lead a focused coach and leader-led PLT and professional development based on trend needs. So for example, one of the things that we've noticed at Lamond in the area of instruction is that there is a challenge with engagement. Virtually, it is a challenge as a whole because of course it looks different. However, one of our focus areas is how to use questioning and higher order thinking to promote our students, to promote their cognitive function, and hopefully in turn to increase engagement and the connection between engagement and questioning, as well as some additional supports that we found that schools are using virtually just to get students kind of student-friendly activities and apps and things like that that will get the students engaged. Kind of what I term tricking students into learning. They don't realize that you're doing that, but some student-friendly ways to get them engaged as well.
Okay, so let's talk impact. So it's important that we talk about the influence of the work that our coaches are doing on a day-to-day basis. And we want to start with team coaching through professional learning teams, which is one approach that we utilize. Here, there is an image on the screen of our PLT that takes place on Wednesday. This session was led by our pre-K coach. It was also led by our other 2 coaches in the building, regional and our 3rd through 8th grade coach within their respective PLTs. What we found at the beginning of the year, we moved to asynchronous learning, which involved having a series of videos for our families on Wednesdays. For our staff, at the beginning of the year, we had 1 or 2 of our teachers that were using videos with fidelity. The rest of the staff, they did express like this was an area of new learning and this was an area that they wanted to learn more and build their craft in. So we did spend some time. In fact, we spent 2 months around what do asynchronous videos look like? We started out with an exploration of 5 types of videos. We explored those 5 types of videos and then we practiced and then we gave peer feedback. And then from there, we we implemented it within our actual day-to-day practices. And now I'm very happy to say that 95% of our teachers at Tollson are utilizing asynchronous videos during the asynchronous learning days on Wednesdays. And much of that work has to do with our coaches, because they've created these safe spaces for team coaching, which is done through our PLTs. On the screen, you do see a picture of a gallery walk that they were conducting. So here they were not only just talking about a practice, but they were modeling engagement with the teachers, where you can see they're using a Google document where each teacher was able to collaborate and provide feedback all at the same time. The similar practices, what we aim to see within our classrooms, and our teachers were able to replicate those practices going into the next week.
Here you have, it's hard to see, but it is just an example of how the coaches and school leaders work together just in terms of planning our professional developments around planning time. So here you just have an example of an agenda and how our planning time is broken up. 15 minutes we spend on norms, reviewing the peak of the week, which is filled with weekly information. So it just depends on the day of the week. And then the last 45 minutes is usually around whatever that focus is in terms of planning. So this is an example from back in October. We were focusing on mini lessons. So there was a video and that we engaged with our teachers, and then we went into the planning time in which some of the practices that were in the video or support from our regional coach or myself, the goal was to then use those practices in the actual lesson planning for the week. So that's just a way, when we look at lesson plans and we look at instruction, we try to look at where it is, what direction we need to go. And then from there in that planning session, we take notes on how that planning session went to help prepare us for what we're going to do for the remainder of the week. You also notice that on various days of the week, depending on the day of the week, that is the day that we actually plan that particular subject. So Monday, reading, math, on Tuesday, and so on and so forth. And what we do is keep a rolling agenda so that we can keep track of where we left off, and just kind of use this to kind of see what our progress has been in terms of planning throughout the year.
Okay, because we know that professional learning is a continuous process, and this is something that it is not just a one and done, but we treat it as a cycle of learning. This is a sample of an email sent out after a PLT where our coach shared teacher next steps. So we find that next steps are very important for building the teacher capacity and just the connectedness in the work. So we learn something today, we practice it. Now, practice it on your own and come back with something to share and get feedback on. And we'll continue in that process.
So the next slide is tracking and how we track teacher progress and goal setting. I had mentioned earlier a 6-week cycle, and within that 6-week cycle, our coaches set goals with our teachers. There's a heavy emphasis at Lamont, and we're working toward more of a show, not tell coaching. Just my belief that teachers learn best when we model for them the expectations. Then revisiting goals and redetermining our focus. Once a goal is met, there may be another goal that a teacher is working on. And so we have to come back to the table, our coaches come back to the table, and they look at and decide whether or not there needs to be a redetermination of the focus for that teacher. And these coaching cycles are based on qualitative and quantitative data. So that would be from our data based on our weekly assessments of our students, because that is a determinant of the coaching cycle or the type of coaching or the goals that are set for that particular teacher, but also with qualitative data based on observations and feedback from our coaches as well as school leaders. And then one of the other ways that we track is just a collection of logs that our coaches share with our regional director, between the regional director and teacher.
Okay. There's no need to repeat here. It is similar at Tollson. You'll see there on the right.
Awesome. Thank you all so much for this thorough analysis. I see that you have a few more slides, but I'm just thinking about time and appreciate you all sharing. We're really interested also in hearing from the regional coaches, not a regurgitation of what was just presented, but one thing that we're very curious about, you all mentioned that there was a balance between the regional priorities and campus needs. And I'm wondering, and I think that this is a conversation that we've all had as a board before, is what does that mean and what does the alignment look like? How are the instructional priorities created? And why is there like a balance between school needs and camp? Like, what does that balance look like? And I would like to hear from the regional coaches, please.
Can you repeat your question?
Sure. What are your instructional priorities and how do you go about supporting the campuses?
Good evening. This is Keisha McCoy, Regional Academic Coach. I'm currently servicing the Tollson campus. Our priorities, instructional priorities, are based upon the needs of the school and also the regional initiatives that are set forth by our national team, which we meet with monthly. And then we meet with school leaders and we determine and set a plan for how we're going to tackle those things. So one of those, for example, was shared in the presentation by Ms. Stone and Ms. Pella as far as the videos, becoming asynchronous, trying to move to that hybrid, that hybrid place of learning. And so trying to make sure that we're approaching this distance learning where teachers are equipped.
Sure. Thank you for sharing that. And again, I'm just keeping mind of time. And the board academic excellence committee, we had an opportunity to visit classrooms at both campuses in the past few months. And each of our observations showed us that the performance of teachers it was not meeting the proficiency level. It was actually very far below proficiency. And so all of the things that you all have communicated here it sounds great. And I really love the tiered coaching that you mentioned and the asynchronous videos that you're mentioning. And I would love for you guys to be able to send that to us. But where's the disconnect? Because, as we continue to support our scholars now and in the future, we'd love to hear your reflections about like, where is the disconnect and why is instruction not meeting expectations consistently based on the observations that we've noted thus far.
This is Ms. Paula. So I think that,
I'm sorry, Ms. Paula.
I don't know if you wanted to hear from me.
I actually want to hear from the regional coaches. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is Ms. Arnold. I'm the regional coach with Lamond. And I only came on really to say that I hope that we can dive into that question and concern a little further. I think it's a lot deeper than a conversation with Keisha and myself for the first time tonight. I know Keisha and myself have both been with our Imagine Hope schools for almost 2 years now. I know we were removed from the Academic Excellence Committee meetings last year sometime. So my hope is that we can, as we're rejoining, I think next week, we can dive a little deeper into that question. It's going to take longer than a few minutes to look at some historical data around, where teachers are, where structures are, where curriculum lands, knowledge of focus skills and standards, coaching aligned with who we began with last year, 6 weeks later, and then the next 6 weeks, and then where we are now. And then as far as, staffing, retention, placement, and all those levels. So we both hope we can dive in deeper with you, also in more of a, personal level. So we're not putting teachers maybe spotlighted in front of the, community as of yet, but in a way that we can actually look at the root cause analysis of the question that you're asking. Because I know both of us, Keisha and myself, were really on listening tonight. We didn't know we'd really be called on, or we could actually pull some of our charts and logs and data. So maybe next week during the Academic Excellence Committee, we can dive a little deeper into that information with you and the rest of the board members also.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? All right, so we have the governance committee share updates with us, please.
Hey everyone, this is Austin Alderdice. So for the governance committee, we're currently in the process of interviewing one new board member, but we're continuously looking for more. We especially need some potential board members who are focused in the realms of academic excellence, finance, and those with a law background. So once again, if anybody has any ideas or suggestions on potential new board members, please let me know. We especially, we could also use representation from our parents as well, especially as we look to this transition here and making sure that the parents' needs are heard and addressed. Carrie, is there any other update that you'd like to provide?
No, not at this time. No, thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Austin, this is Susan. I would just second that. Like if there are parents with a finance background in particular, I think it would be great to involve one of them, you know, on the board, not as a parent so much as, but just, you know, just to kind of grow that involvement. And I could imagine that there'd be folks out there who had a finance background.
Yeah, we're working with education board partners, but it doesn't have to all fall on them. I mean, I know we all have networks. And so even if it's a shot in the dark email, you can just pass me along somebody's name, phone number, email address, anything like that. I'm happy to make the connection, make the introduction, et cetera. We just need people who are hungry to help here. And so any suggestions would be welcome. So thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other announcements, comments, questions? Okay, so next week, Thursday at 5:30, we will have another board meeting, a special board meeting, and it's essentially to vote on the turnaround organization that we will be working with. We have two entities, you know, based on the previous meeting. I don't think I need to go into details again. I think people on this Zoom meeting were at the last meeting. So that meeting will be short. Next week's meeting will be short. It will be solely for that purpose, not with any other updates because it's just a week apart. And I think at that point too, we'll be able to determine whether we will still have the March 11th meeting on the 11th or postpone that meeting towards the end of the month or the middle of the month, just to, you know, give us a breather and also allow time for all the other logistical arrangements that we would need to put in place for just everything that's going on, and also with the reopening as well. So at this time, I'd like to ask for a motion to first go into a closed board session and another motion to adjourn today's meeting.
I'll make a motion to go into the closed board session. This is Austin.
Thank you. Can we have a roll call acceptance for that, please?
Well, I'll second it.
Thank you.
Carrie, seconded as well.
Thank you. Dana? Thanks. Altair, are you there? For the closed session, we just need a roll call for that.
I'm sorry. Yes, I'm here.
Okay. No worries, thanks. And then to adjourn the meeting, we just need one person to second. So may we get another motion to adjourn today's meeting, please?
Yeah, I move to adjourn the meeting. This is Susan.
Thank you.
Second. This is Carrie.
Okay, thank you. Well, meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone. It's been a long day. I really appreciate you all coming and hope to see you next week. God bless. Have a good night.